I'll show you how to unwind.
Come on, babe, let's go outside and take the boat out for a ride. I'm ready, I don't wanna wait. Cause the only time I'm feeling free is when I got that ocean breeze, or kicking it out on the lake. Get on board. Got the sunshine and the short line. It's a good life. Get on board, get on board. Have a good time, casting that line. It's a good life. Get on board, get on board. Get on board.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Moser, and I'm Sounding Trade Only Editor-in-Chief. Leading during uncertain times, the final keynote session of IBEX Online, a virtual experience. Show director Ann Dunbar had asked us if we wanted to expand on our June feature issue, How We Lead, where we asked a group of industry leaders to discuss their approach to leadership in a pandemic, what they've learned since COVID-19 crisis struck, and how they're planning to move forward. Of course, we were thrilled to do so. The pandemic has thrust crisis management into the forefront of everyday business. While core values remain, the norms and usual metrics used for conducting business have shifted. At the same time, the industry is experiencing a spike in demand, particularly from new boaters. Manufacturers are hard-pressed to ramp up production because of supply chain and workforce issues. One thing that I hear, and I've heard from a lot of people say the same thing, is, I've never experienced anything like this before. So we wanted to bring some industry leaders' voices together to discuss some of the creative ways that we've addressed the crisis. Now, more than ever, leaders are relying on strong teams, clear communications, positive outlooks, and leading by example. In short, creative evolving solutions are going to be needed to move forward. Now, to introduce our panel today. We are fortunate to be able to assemble a group of representatives from various sides of the marine business, from components and engines to dealers and boat builders. Martin Bjuve has been president of Volvo Penta of the Americas since January. Brenna Preisser, president of Business Acceleration and Chief Human Resources Officer for Brunswick Corp. Hi, Brenna. MarineMax marketing director Abbey Heinensen. And finally, good morning. How are you today?
Well, thank you.
All right. And finally, CorrectCraft CEO Bill Yeargin. Hello, Bill.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning. Let's, Bill, I'll start with you. In what ways has the COVID-19 pandemic shifted your outlook for the year?
Wow, it's been a crazy year in a lot of different ways, Jeff. I've told a few people all we need is an alien invasion, and just would cap off the year. But it's impacted us a number of ways. In April and May there was so much uncertainty, and then once we got into May and June, with strong retail, that changed our focus. But I think for our organization, we've tried to see it as an opportunity to reset, and you really look at everything that we do. We were shut down for a few weeks, as most of the companies were. And so, we're just trying to, we have tried, and our team's really done a great job of seeing this as an opportunity to reset and look at everything that we do and see how we can do it better and try to make several years worth of change in a few weeks or months. So really to see the challenges as an opportunity.
Great. Martin, you want to expand on that a little bit? You had some shutdowns as well.
Yeah, we had a short shutdown, just like Bill and his team had, but not very long actually. And as you said, I stepped into this role in January, so it's been a roller coaster for sure to step into this role and jump straight into this for sure, right? And maybe not resetting like Bill said, but for sure we got an opportunity to come together and spend a lot of time on how do we move on from here, right? And really work on our strategies and come together as a team. So it's been a good opportunity as well, and I'm sure we'll get to that later on in the agenda here.
Yeah, Brenna, how was Brunswick Corp prepared for the shutdown, and what came after it?
Yeah, well, I don't know that you're ever fully prepared for a global pandemic. I think that being said, we had a very solid foundation. When you have a solid management team, you understand what your values are. And I think this has been an opportunity where you move from just stating your values to really being able to take action on your values. And we also had made some investments in technology. So as we had to move quickly into a remote working environment. We had the collaboration tools in place, and in fact, productivity has remained very strong over the course of this period.
As Chief Human Resources Officer for Brunswick, was there some steps that you took that were really beneficial to your employees in this time of remote working, or when it lasted?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, the first area of focus was how do we just keep people safe? And so quickly moving from safety to business continuity, we acted swiftly. We moved folks off site. But then as we started to ramp production and bring folks back, there's a few things we did. We implemented a wage continuation program. One of the things that we have learned is really the importance of flexibility in this environment. And I think that has allowed us to restart operations in the manner that we have.
Great. Abbey, how did it affect your team in Florida and beyond?
Well, similar to what everybody just mentioned here, right? No one really knew what to expect or where we were going to go. As you all know, the effect on us was quite different, where we all of a sudden had a run on an amazing product that we had in our stores. And so I love how Brenna said it. First and foremost, it was our team members and their families, their health, and making sure that everybody was safe and secure. And then we needed to decide what we were going to do in all of our locations, because at the time we had 59 locations, some in the hot spots, New York, Massachusetts, here in Florida. And then we had other locations that were in fairly safe areas where the cases weren't popping up. So every place that we had a location had a different set of protocol as well. So that was our biggest thing that our teams did, our human resources department and beyond our leadership departments. They made sure that we were on point at each one of our locations of what the community, the county, the state protocols were, and made sure everyone was safe and secure in their area. And then we started to go from there, what was going to be the best from the team member, and then what was going to be the best for our customer. And I know we'll get into it here a little bit, but we had a lot of people knocking on our doors saying, we want what you need, and we wanted to be able to get them that product safely, securely, and get them out on the water.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a lot to juggle. Bill, did you have something to add?
No, I think what everybody said was right. We did the same thing. We tried to keep our team safe, tried to keep the shutdown as short as possible. We paid people for time that they were off, and just did our best to keep everybody safe and get back up and running, which we were able to do, thankfully.
Yeah, it was really impressive to see many marine companies sort of shift gears and manufacture PPEs for frontline workers and things like that. That was really quite a showing of what the marine business is all about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So I guess we're still not really out of the woods, but we're in a better position than we were in March and April. But in hindsight, what do you think your organization would have done differently? Abbey, you want to start?
I don't know that we would have necessarily done much differently, except for maybe we would have maybe started a little earlier. To your point, we really just didn't know. And I was actually chatting with my chief digital officer yesterday about when did this really start to take a real live hold on us, right? And I would say that for myself anyway, we looked back at the Miami Boat Show and really said, in February, this started to take real presence. There was less handshaking, there was elbow bumping, fist pounding, the things like that. There was a lot more hand sanitizer, and we really started to talk about, hey, if this becomes real, what's next? Or if this becomes bigger than what it sounds like it is. And we came home and we made some big changes right then and there, looking at what was going to come forward to the summer. We knew, because of the industry that we're all in, we knew that we had an amazing product that could keep people together, keep people safe, that they could be on their own boats and be with just their family and friends, that they could have a clean environment that they had control over, and they could spend time together. And so the first thing that we did was look at what would be the safety of our team members again, but then what is the safest environment that our customers could be in for this summer when we started to hear things like Disney World was going to be closed and flights to the European vacations, or any vacations for those matter, were going to be smaller. What should you do? Let's do a staycation, and let's be able to be in our communities, in our homes, and in our safe environment that we can control. And so I for our company, we just didn't realize how quick it was going to come, because that was mid-February. And by mid-March, we were all making decisions that we were very surprised that we were having to make.
Martin, you want to expand on that? I remember Miami being, a whirlwind.
Right.
Yeah.
As usual. It's actually my first week on the job.
I remember we met here, Jeff. We knew both of us, right? But we for us being also in the industrial world, right? We had ConExpo, a big construction show coming up right after Miami, and the Volvo Group, we actually decided to build our stand, but not go there and participate. To protect our employees. Some exhibitors did, so we were really early out in the process and reacted very early. We had our team members home already, working from home in March, and obviously us being a big global corporation, we've been used to working like that for a good while. So infrastructure was there, so we could do that swiftly, right? We also saw being present in Asia. Basically, when we went into lockdowns here in Europe and in the US in March and April time, our colleagues started to come back in Asia. So we learned a lot from what they went through over there, and incorporated that in the way we started up our both factories, but also white collar and field-based personnel again. So we had a lot of benefit from that and learned a lot from that. That was really valuable for us.
That's a good point, Martin.
Yeah.
Bill, what was the biggest challenge you faced with all those different facilities that you have under the CorrectCraft moniker and under the CorrectCraft brand, and did supply chain become an issue for you during this time?
Yeah, I think our big, we have 14 locations around the country, and our biggest challenge was, I think, dealing with the uncertainty with our team. And I'm going back now to April. I mean, there's just so much uncertainty. I don't know, in 2020 hindsight, knowing what we know today, know how we deal with it today, if we'd have shut down, for instance, we know we're operating today, all of us are operating today with a lot higher number of cases and more COVID than we were back in April when we shut down. But there was just so much uncertainty. So that was making tough decisions in, really in the fog of war, to use the cliche. That was a challenge. Our employees, making sure that our employees knew that we cared about them, that we were going to do everything that we could to take care of them. And really, that was one of the big reasons that we finally made the decision to shut down. I think we were shut down for 3 weeks. 3 weeks to 2 months. Our California location was shut down the longest, a little over 2 months because of the state there. But just making sure our employees felt secure, knew that we cared about them. Supply chain was a challenge too, because we had suppliers that were dealing with the same issues that we were dealing with. So we were sympathetic and empathetic because we knew exactly what they were dealing with. But all of those were challenges that we faced during that time.
Are any of you still experiencing any supply chain issues or shipments of boats from overseas facilities? Parts?
We are a little bit, but some of our supply chain issues, it's a combination of suppliers still dealing with COVID and suppliers having employees out, key employees out. At the same time, the whole industry is trying to ramp up. I mean, we is probably many other. We were on NMA calls the last couple of days, board calls. And I know many boat manufacturers like us, we're largely sold out to the end of the model year, and so we're trying to ramp up production. At the same time, everybody's dealing with having employees out and all these extra challenges. So that's a bit of a challenge right now.
Yeah.
And Jeff, just to build on the uncertainty, I think it wasn't just certainly the uncertainty in our factories, and we talked about keeping employees safe. It's also the uncertainty in the market, and as you're trying to forecast, and one of the things that we really learned was the importance of having a direct line of communication with your consumers, because there absolutely were some leading indicators. We did reposition some employees, not just to look at what the data was telling us, because in many cases it's lagging, but to reach out directly and try to understand so we could predict buying patterns. And that has put us in a better position and allowed us to forecast a bit more accurately.
Yeah, understood.
I think Brenna makes a really good point. I live on a lake here in Florida, and during the initial 2-3 weeks, when everybody was being sent home, our lake was busier than any 4th of July.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
And I would echo what Bill says there for sure. That
there were some leading indicators, as Brenna said.
yeah, if it was the 4th of July out there in the middle of April, I hadn't seen Saturdays like that. I'm here in Clearwater, Florida, and the same thing, Bill, that the intercoastal was packed, and that's 100%. I went back to my home office and said, okay, there's a trend here, and what are we going to do about this? Because the writing was on the wall pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see a repeat of those scary days in March and April and the uncertainty, but problems aside, our industry has seen some significant bright spots. And what do you make of those, Abbey? And how do you plan on leveraging that moving forward?
Well, I think that it's everybody that's probably watching, and everybody, especially on this panel, we all know what boating means to people and their lifestyle and their families and friends, right? That's why we're all in this industry. We've got a passion for it, and it's a powerful thing that brings people together. So right there is what we plan to continue to grow on, right? Is that it is that we're united by water. It's something that you can do, that you can always do, and it changes lives. And so for us, we will continue to hone that and bring people into this incredible lifestyle. And as we go forward, Brenna mentioned it earlier, the expansion of technology and our customer experience is going to be a real big focus for what we start doing, making sure that now that we have more people than ever into our industry and into our lifestyle, making sure that they get the service they require, making sure they have the education that they require to use their new boats the way that they want to, so they really understand and appreciate what they have at their fingertips.
Yeah, Brenna, you want to build on that?
Jeff, if I can, I was going to say, if I can expand on the bright spots, because I think what we are seeing, and may have the reason to believe that this is not just a COVID event, that the increased demand that we're seeing, but when you think about the number of new boat buyers that are coming into the market, first-time boat buyers, the strength of women entering, diversity in the market, there's really reason to believe that we are on the front end of an expansion in the industry. And the key is going to be, how do we keep those boaters on the water? But I think this is has the potential to be one of the strongest points in the history of this industry that we can just lean into.
I agree with you, Brenna. And I know some of us are competitors here, right? But how we come together as an industry here and take care of these customers in a good way now, and make sure they have a good experience. That's definitely what it's going to be about, and how we commit to them and how we engage with them, not only by technical support and service, etc., but how we engage with them and make the experience good. It's key now, right?
Especially after the sale, right? That's just the beginning of it, right? It's now how do they how's their lifestyle after they take the boat home, and they're, like Bill said, they're on the dock and they've got the wakeboard. Now what, right? We've got to have a great experience, and that's where the education comes in. Women in water classes, and kids in boating, and intro to boating, and even advanced boating and charting and plotting skills. All of that, no matter if you're at Lake of the Ozarks, you're in Manhattan, or you're in Miami, Florida. All of those pieces have to come together to make an exceptional experience, or there's every reason in the book to get out of boating as well. And we as an industry have a big responsibility to make sure it's easy and fun and simple.
Yeah, it's a good point. We have all these a lot of people that are, first-time boaters, and we want to keep them, as boaters. And a lot of the dealers I've heard are saying that they're so frazzled just, with new sales and follow-ups on leads, that they maybe sometimes overlook that, a text or a call to that new buyer. So there's something we all got to think about as well. Yeah, I would say that's a good point. What was the most, I guess, the most surprising or least expected takeaway this year, we would say, both as individuals or as an organization? Martin, you want to start?
Jeff,
Yeah,
ahead,
sure. I'll leave it to you in a second, Brenna. I think, we mentioned it before.
we have a little delay, sorry.
This surge, and I think, as we said before, even in Virginia, people were out voting in April, and we saw it coming pretty early, but it's still a surprise going into this. I think we all might have anticipated that this would be a turnout like we saw in 2007 and 8, and fear that, right? But the turnaround there, and that it became more of a hospitality crisis immediately here, and that people turned to RVs and boating and mountain bikes, and I think that was definitely a surprise for me. Very positive surprise, though, of course. Yeah. You go ahead, Brenna.
Brenna, you're up. Can you hear us?
Oh, okay. Sorry, there's a little delay.
No
Well, I think the first surprise has been.
Oh, we just lost her. So, Bill, you want to, until she comes back, would you talk about that briefly for me?
Sure.
Maybe, thank you.
In one respect, Jeff, I think the biggest surprise is that we were surprised, and that. And I'm not saying I had no idea, and never in a million years would have projected a pandemic for 2020. If you look back 100 years, started at World War I and go through, the stock market crash, the Depression, World War II, on and on. There's about every 8 to 10 years, there's some major catalytic event. And we had the 9/11, the Great Recession. And so I think with our businesses, at least, we try to be, and I'm not saying that we excel at it, but certainly what we try to do is be prepared, for the unexpected. And, we have like many companies, we have a risk matrix, and we lay out all our risk and the probability and the impact. And I'll confess, we did not have pandemic on the risk matrix. but the great thing about that kind of planning is that a lot of the planning carries over. An economic collapse was on the risk matrix, so we could look at some of those things and say, okay, what do we do? So I think one of the things we can learn is that we're going to constantly have surprises of some sort, in our businesses. So, just being prepared, for those, and using them, as I said earlier, Jeff, using those surprises, as an opportunity to reset our business, versus just restart or reopen, I think is an opportunity.
Yeah, I guess you look at these things as opportunities. Abbey, how has it changed your company's outlook for the future and maybe its values as well? Is there something that you've seen that has sort of altered that as a whole for MarineMax?
I would tell you that because of MarineMax and the strong value system, that won't change, and that hasn't changed. If anything, it actually just put even more highlight on the values that Bill McGill 22 years ago put into place for MarineMax. And it's the basis of what we do today, right? You work with honesty, you work with integrity, you do what's right for the customer, and at the end of the day, you're gonna come out on top. What it highlighted for us as well is that we have great partners, right? And the manufacturers and our other partners. Again, our leadership team has done an amazing job of making sure we have the right portfolio out there for the right customers. So that was our core values actually led us through to get us to through the pandemic. And I know we're not all the way at the end yet, but I do believe there is some sort of light over there at the end of the tunnel. I hope. And then, our outlook is, it's very bright, right? And I loved how Brenna said it. It's not just that, there was a whole bunch of new buyers and that's just a fluke, right? This is bringing people back into a fantastic lifestyle that the outlook made people slow down, right? Things stopped happening, such as a lot of sports didn't happen. A lot of kids didn't end up going to camp, different things like that. And, a great story that I love to tell is one of our leading salespeople here in the company, he and his family were in everything. The kids were in swimming, they were in soccer, everything. They were somewhere every single weekend. One parent would go one way, the other parent would go another way. And when this started, they were in their boat every single weekend with their kids.
Wow.
And they met us at a sandbar north of the bridge. And I love to tell the story because they have lived here longer and boated here longer. And they said to my husband and I, this is the first time we've ever gone north of that bridge before.
Really?
And that to me was really, that's where the light came on. And we said, this is incredible, because this has brought families together, and they're going to keep doing this because now they understand what it's like. You can slow down. It doesn't have to be something constant all of the time. We can be together. And this is important time. And Bill, I think you said it in the very beginning, this was a real reset for our companies, but I think for people personally, this was a great reset to get back to your values, your core values of your family and your friends.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, hey, Brenna. Brenna's
Hey,
back.
Brenna.
Sorry about that. Nice to
no
be
problem.
back.
Okay, good to have you. So I was going to go to Martin. You operate as a global company. How has it changed Volvo Penta's values and outlook going forward?
Well, as Abbey said, I don't think it's changed our values significantly, more maybe confirming what we are. I definitely see, and Volvo Group definitely see, and you see what's going on maybe on the automotive side, but also on the on-highway truck side. There is a strong push towards sustainability, electrification, alternative fuels, etc. And for us as a group, that definitely is strengthening as our guiding star when we keep innovating in the industry, and how we can leverage that technology, take it to the marine industry as well. And I have a feeling that a pandemic was something for us in the Western world that happened somewhere else. Now we're here, we're in the middle of it, and we see we can be exposed to Mother Nature, and we strongly believe that will put more emphasis on this, and that will definitely be our clearer guiding star as we keep innovating in the marine industry. I think if anything, that has changed us.
Yeah, Brenna, Brunswick operates in many ways like a startup. They have the startup mentality. Are you incorporating that now? Are you doubling down on that, incorporating that now even more with not only new buyers, but just a look at a more sustainable practices in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one, this situation has certainly given us a new context to innovate. But from a sustainability standpoint, and you had the opportunity to hear from Kevin Grotsky yesterday, we have a lot of effort underway in our core business. One of the things in business acceleration that I lead, we also work with startups and incubators. So I think this is where we also have an opportunity to look outside of our industry, to bring in innovation to the industry. And this is a real focus for Brunswick.
Bill, you have groups that are subsidiaries of CorrectCraft that focus solely on this. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, we have a company that actually is a little mini holding company of others that focus on innovation and sustainability. So we're just as has already been said, we are very focused on doing all we can. Actually, one of our team, Erica, made a presentation also during IBEX on some of the things that we're doing related to sustainability. And we as it relates to innovation, electrification. I think Martin mentioned earlier, electrification. We're investing a lot in that. We've sold some of our products. We've got it's really exciting. Now, people say to me often when we talk about electrification, they say, well, you're just getting the energy from a electric plant down the street. That's how's it really helping? Well, the real benefits, we're trying to look years ahead when that we're getting our electric from renewable sources, and there's some really exciting things happening in the world of renewable sustainable energy. And so we're excited to be looking out 10 years and trying to think about what we should be doing today.
And I think to latch on to that, Bill, I think the generations we talked about that are coming into the industry here, the younger generations that are now coming into boating that we've been trying to attract for so long, they're going to be even more aware about this. They're going to put more demands on us. So I think it's really something for the industry to pay attention to.
Abbey, are you noticing that at MarineMax with all your brands that these new customers are coming in expecting not only some sustainable stuff, but just an easier sort of approach to boating and with a lot of electronics and a lot of connectivity?
Yes, all of those, yes. Yeah, of course. And, as I mentioned earlier, that's why we have the partners that we do and carry the manufacturers do, because of things like this and what Bill and Brenna and those teams that they represent are doing with sustainability. And, as we talk about younger and new people coming in, it's what you expect. You believe in that. You want to make sure that what the product that you're purchasing doesn't have the carbon footprint, doesn't leave the mark that it may have left 20, 30 years ago. And you mentioned electronics and technology, right? We all expect it. We have it in our cars, we have it in our homes, we have it in these little tiny things that we carry around with us all the time. So when I step aboard my boat for the weekend, I expect to have those same things at my fingertips, and they need to work and they need to be easy to use. I don't have to bring my 12-year-old nephew with me so he can run something for me. I need to be able to do it quickly. I need to change the ballast quickly. I need to be able to get the tunes on quickly, and it needs to be very, very simple, and it needs to work. And I think that's the biggest thing that we take away, is that our customer wants it to work instantaneously. And why, if it works in my car, why shouldn't it work on my boat? Why should there be any difference? And so for us, it's making sure that their customer experience from the moment they leave to the moment they leave their dock, they don't have that a poor experience for either technology or something not working the way it should.
Yeah. Brenna, Sea Ray really came out swinging with the CES presentation in January. That was pretty impressive. Are you planning on doing that in the future? Is that something you're going to do every year with debuting new products that feature electrification or some integration?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I mean, this is part of our future with respect to CES. Of course, there won't be a show this year, but it really gave us the opportunity to tell our story beyond just our core business, where we intend to take not only our product, but our technology and innovation with the consumer. I think it was good for Sea Ray and Brunswick, but it was also good for the industry, because we should be on the same platforms as some of the other industries in bringing technology and innovation on the water for consumers.
Great. Anyone else have anything to add on that?
I think just what you said there, Brenna, is that it needs to be on the water and it needs to work. And one of the, majority of our markets are in a saltwater market. And so on top of it, they all need to work in the most corrosive environment in the world.
Let's go back to our main topic of leadership. Martin, what qualities do you think you, as a leader should have and exhibit? And what have you learned from this pandemic that you look to lean on?
Well, I guess you come back to some basic topics when it comes to leadership, right? Especially when many of us were separated geographically for a number of time. It is intense communication and sharing and transparency with the team, with our partners, our OEMs, our dealers, to really work on that. That's really where I guess all of us put emphasis, and frustration that we can't meet at boat shows, etc., like we used to do. I think that's one thing. Then in the core values of the Volvo Group, of course, we have the trust, and we trust in our leaders, and we trust for them to do the right thing. And you really need to dare to do that in a situation like this. You can't control, you need to delegate, and you need to trust your team and your managers, right? And I'm really proud of our team came together and did that and communicated well and led their teams in a good way. So I think it's very basic leadership topics that come up when something like this happens, right?
Oh. I guess we probably all had our doubts at the beginning of how this was going to work remotely and how we were going to continue to lead. Brenna, what were your thoughts about going into it? And you have a big team under you. Continuing to do work and move forward underneath these. We're all working from home for an indefinite period.
Yeah, there were big questions maybe initially. I think we did have the technology and the collaboration tools to support us. But what has maybe surprised me is how quickly everyone has adapted. And not only have we maintained productivity levels, but our collaboration and communication has been very strong. So I think the question is going to be, as we look to the future, how do we take forward some of the elements that we've learned today that employees really like, especially around flexibility, make that part of the future while also recognizing that some of the interactions you have to have a strong cultural footing, and so the key is going to be finding that balance.
Yeah. Bill, do you have anything to say about this? You have, like we said earlier, you have a lot of different facilities and not only manufacturing, but corporate as well. So how did you walk the line and make sure all that worked as a leader?
I think as a leader, I see one of my key responsibilities is to try to create clarity. And, it's hard. It's hard, especially in the fog of war of March, April that we were in. So trying to create as much clarity as I could about, how we were viewing the situation or any challenge, trying to create clarity about, what we're going to do, what our priorities are. And then, moving toward the problems, not away from the problems, and or not freezing. I've got a friend, Michelle Rigby. She's an ex-CIA agent. She's officially out, so I can say that. She's an ex-CIA agent. She said that in the CIA they teach them that when you have a big challenge, they said get off the X. Basically, you can run, you can fight, just don't freeze. And so I think as leaders, what we try to do, our team is move toward the problem and not freeze, and so fully engage. And then in a time of uncertainty with our teams is trying to provide them energy. And it's really it takes a lot of energy to worry and be concerned, and it can be incredibly disruptive to our operation. So I think if we can provide clarity, our team knows we're moving towards a problem, we're dealing with it, and we try to provide them energy. I think those are all things that we tried to do, and it was a big help, at least for our team.
Great. Abbey, how have you handled this?
Well, I think I would echo what everyone said here, right? The core values of all the companies that are represented here today and just the industry, right? That's what's best for the team. And I love that. Get off the X. I mean, I'm going to use that in a lot of stuff going forward, Bill. That's awesome because it's true,
as will
right?
I.
And I've never heard it put that way, but I truly know that the leadership team here at MarineMax is a get off the X kind of crew, and they will move forward. And I think the biggest thing that I took away during this is that the team is resilient. I oversee a group of about 19 people now that had never worked from home before, right? And I'm just talking about the marketing team here at MarineMax. And we left here one Thursday in March, expecting to probably be back in a couple weeks, right? And to the day right now, I've got about 3 people back, and most people are still remote. And we were a better team for it, and it was awesome. We communicated, and I think that was the biggest takeaway for myself and as a leader: clear, concise communication to our team on a daily basis of what was happening, and the promise that we were never going to throw something at them that we wouldn't do ourselves. And I think that's, again, kind of the golden rule of what we all follow, right? Just do unto others, right, as what you would expect back. And, we wanted to, as we always do, and our mission statement says it, we're going to exceed the greatest expectations of our team members and our customers. And that's what we wanted to do during this strange time, was just to communicate and exceed their expectations so they were never confused about what was going on.
I have a great story from our side on this subject, I must say, from moving from the X. And when we shut down here back in March and April time, we have trainers across US that have their schools local. They had their schedule 20 weeks out. They were going to have students in class training for week after week after week. And then we all realized, no one is going to show up at the training school, right? That's not going to happen. And what we really did, we transitioned within a couple of weeks. We had online instructor-led training where we actually trained technicians to be able to take care of the customers out in the market online instead. And it took us a matter of weeks. And we train roughly 1,500 in-class trainings every year, and we are pacing against that, but online instead. And I'm really, to your point here, Bill, that's the way we need to do, right? That's the way we need to operate in a situation like this. I'm really proud of that.
Get off the X, everybody.
Get off the X, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm
The
going to use it as
takeaway
well.
for today.
Yeah, indeed.
Thanks, Bill.
So I guess, as I said earlier, we're still sort of in a gray period with the pandemic. But Bill, how are you determining production for next year and beyond, given so many unknowns?
Right now, we're just trying to ramp up as fast as we can. We've got tremendous amount of orders. All of our dealers are out of boats and are asking for product, and so we're doing everything we can. A lot of times, people don't realize that you just can't you can't double the number of boats you're building in a week. There's a process. You got to get people and processes and so forth. But as we look ahead to to grab on to the idea, I think that Brenna and Abbey both said that we're gonna plan for the fact that this is a fundamental shift, and that people that we're going to be able to keep the people in boating that are going to have good experiences. We're going to do everything we can to make sure, and I know everyone else on this panel is going to do what they can to make sure that our customers have good experiences, and then prepare, but also be prepared for anything else that could happen. So we're excited. We're excited about the future, and we're excited about our industry. We think it's a great industry, and it's good. I to touch on a little bit. Jeff, one of the other analogies we use sometimes around here is the difference between being a commercial pilot and a fighter pilot. And we say that, commercial pilots are, really necessary. Obviously they're flying lots of people all around the world, every day, and, and not to downplay them at all, but there's a difference between a commercial pilot and a fighter pilot. And, the fighter pilots are constantly reacting to all kinds of changes, and they're in battle. And so there's a time to be a commercial pilot, and there's time to be a fighter pilot. This year has been time to be a fighter pilot. And, so we're trying to keep that mentality too, as we look forward. And, we're not out of the woods and all this. There's still a lot of uncertainty, but we're optimistic.
Another good takeaway from Bill. I like that. Fighter pilot versus commercial pilot. You have manufacturing plant, mostly plants all overseas with in China and in Poland. How are you communicating with them about production for the upcoming year and beyond? Because there's going to be the demand is there, as you said.
Is that for Abbey?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. No, that's fine. Because I know Brenna has some of those same things, so I was just double checking there. Well, yes, absolutely. It's really along the lines what Bill said, right? We understand that the need is there. Our customers are hungry for that. The two locations that you mentioned, China, where our Aquilas are built, and Poland, where our Galleon yachts are built, they're working just along as quickly as our U.S.-based manufacturers are, because the need is there. So it goes back to what I was mentioning before. It's constant communication with our brand managers and with the factories to bring things here as quickly as we can. But it's also to maintain that quality. And I like how Bill said that, right? You want to make sure that you still get the quality of the brand that you expect, and have it arrive and ready to go for the consumer. So, just a strong communication and making sure that we get what we can as soon as we can to fill the need for that customer.
Brenna, would you comment on that, please?
Yeah, I would just say, in terms of forecasting demand in this environment, you really have to rely on a lot of inputs, and a lot of your qualitative models didn't necessarily predict a global pandemic. So as we talked about, consumer insight being another consideration, certainly industry experience, and talking to your partners and stakeholders. Mm-hmm. So we are optimistic that we're in an industry expansion, but I think it takes a lot of input to get to the right answer.
Maren, did you have a comment?
No, I agree to that, and I think we tested our supply chain here, and we know the flexibility that we have in it. Right now, we're supporting in every way we can the demand that is there, but it's going to be a little bit up and down. I'm sure we will see an up and down as we go, and we all have to cater to that, right? But right now, we're enjoying the demand we see.
Yeah, Martin, you said, and everyone has said, that we look at this as almost like a reset for our brands and our outlook on almost everything. How can we, as an industry, Martin, this one's for you for starters, factor in more sustainable and green practices in the future?
Well, I think we for sure we travel a little bit less right now, right? So the footprint in the industry, I think we are a heavy traveling industry normally. So I think we definitely contribute there, and we learn, like the way we do today, that we don't need to travel for everything. I think that's a big footprint in our industry, and then. Then of course it comes down to our production footprint, where Volvo, we're well advanced in the production footprint and how we manufacture our products in a very environmentally friendly way. For me and us at Volvo, it comes down very much to the product itself, and that the product has to become more sustainable, both the contemporary technologies that we have today with combustion engines, but also when we come into hybrids and electrification, as that starts to happen in society. That's really where we have to come together as an industry and not only follow the trends from the automotive industry, but pick up that technology and actively transfer it into our industry. I think we have a responsibility there.
Yeah, Brenna, did you have a comment on that? I think so. Brenna, are you there? All right, I'm going to go to Abbey. Abbey, how do you factor more green practices at MarineMax with all you have going on?
Well, obviously with the partners that we choose, that is a large piece of what we do for that, and we know.
Yeah, I think it takes, just building on that, it takes clear management conviction. They can't hear me. Sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes,
you're
a bit delayed.
Yeah.
So do you want to dial me back in?
Okay, we're gonna go off of. Go ahead, Abbey. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was, but along the same lines, right? We make sure that and all of our facilities, the biggest thing that we want to make sure that we keep green is, of course, our water, and make sure that we're doing the right precautions in our service centers, making sure our marinas are all taking the right precautions. So we're not on the manufacturing side, such as the gentlemen were saying, and what they're doing at their factories, but we really are on the side of making sure that we dispose of things correctly, that we leave no footprint in our service departments, that we make sure that we have our marinas that are sustainable and are doing the right things, and to make sure that they stay clean and safe. And then we partner with our communities. And the biggest thing that we can do is make sure that we have our partner in our clean water alliances. We partner with cleanups in the communities, shoreline cleanups. That's the biggest thing that we can do. We've got a nice widespread that we can make sure that the water is clean and safe for our future boaters. And that is the biggest thing that we can do for sustainability beyond what we do at our facilities.
Great. And Bill, are you looking at for these green practices, and you've always done this from the time I've been following CorrectCraft, has it sped up your desire to sort of really innovate in this way?
Yeah, absolutely. We are always looking for new and better ways to do it, ways that we can be more sustainable. And I think, we need to keep looking out towards the future. I mean, maybe this is old news to some people, but I know in the past year, we've come across a company that will take our waste and put it into bricks. And we've got a coal plant, it's a clean coal plant. We've got a coal plant here in Central Florida, and they can take those bricks and burn it in the coal plant instead of just going to a landfill. And so, I think we're going to be really surprised, Jeff, over the next few years about some of the technology and innovation. I'm talking about bigger than our industry, the technology innovation related to sustainability. So I think as an industry, we just need to keep looking ahead and looking for opportunities to be part of that. And, as an industry, we're already, I've been in this industry 30 years. We're dramatically better than what we used to be. I mean, dramatically better. And so, and I think we'll keep getting better. I don't see any reason that we'll lose that trajectory. I think we'll just keep getting better, and we're on a good trajectory, and I think we can keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Martin, besides our, hey, Brenna's back.
Hey,
We've learned to be flexible in this environment. That is for sure.
Okay.
So true,
Brenna, I'll go with you with the last question that we were just discussing, and it was talking about sustainable practices and green practices again. And has it, for Brunswick, has it just gave your company the impetus to double down on these things, because it's just not only so beneficial to the consumer, but it's beneficial to our planet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we already saw the importance before COVID. So, it really, we have put forth, it's the management conviction. It is engaging stakeholders throughout the organization really to execute, and it is taking one step at a time. And it's amazing. You start to add up all of these efforts and you really start to see progress. It's going to be demanded by shareholders, by employees, and by our consumers. So there is a lot of conviction behind where we need to take this in the future, and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, sure is. Martin, looking beyond 2021, what are you most hopeful about, and what changes do you see ahead that will affect us?
Yeah, I mean, it seems if you look into 2021 and beyond, it seems like 2021 we will live to learn with this virus in society, right? And we see not only the world but our industry coming back to life and figuring out how to do this, right? It's certainly encouraging to see. We mentioned it so many times here. It's certainly encouraging to see the new boaters coming in, the younger boaters coming in, which is very positive. We spoke about how we take care of them, and for us not being in the first line with these customers, the way we work together as an industry in the value chain together with our OEMs and the dealers out there to take care of these customers, that's where we really need to excel as an industry, and we are there to support our partners there to do that in a good way. We're supporting MRIA Week, for instance. It's really where the rubber hits the road in the marine industry. And that interaction between the dealer and the end customer. You are there to make that experience happen. Then, of course, technology, as we talked about before, to help us all making that more simple by developing the technology we have at hand and apply that in the industry, as Bill said before. That will take off. We will see more and more technology development to support the sustainability dimension and the experience dimension. And there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline there, I'm sure.
Yeah, there sure is. Abbey, 2021 and beyond, what are you most hopeful about for our industry?
I would say that I'm most hopeful for the industry, the fact that so many new people have come into the industry and are going to stay. And I think that's what we as a group can all agree on, is that's a guiding light for us, is that people have come into it and they're not gonna flow right back out. They have found something that they love to do. And that makes me very hopeful, just for pure passion, because I love to share this wonderful thing that we call boating. It's why I do what I do every day. And it's why I think everybody on this group does what they do every day, because you just have a pure passion for it. But I think that beyond that, it's making sure that we take care of that customer and have that 360 view of what the customer wants, whether it's making sure they have the right technology with the right apps on their phones, making sure that they have the right education at their fingertips, and then, just making sure that they have the right product that fits the need of them and their family. And that's where you see the innovation coming in from our manufacturers as we continue to evolve what the consumer wants and what they need. And we rely on and partner together with great leaders in this industry to get to the next level of the product that they need. And I think that's really where the future is that we're going to evolve to some really, really cool things. And I know that this is, we're going into a season where a lot of neat things are going to be starting to be unveiled. And that's what 2021 and beyond is that just the incredible product, the incredible technology that's going to drive that. but treating our customers the way they deserve to be treated, that they get what they need and they stay in this industry is what's the biggest thing for us.
Yeah.
Great. Bill, what are you most hopeful about?
Well, first of all, I fully agree with Abbey, and I think taking care of our customers. I think I've been pretty public about this. I think that our industry is going to be dramatically different over the next 10 years. Dramatically different. There's so many different changes happen all globally between globalization, technology, electrification, some of the things that fall within technology, and so I'm incredibly excited about it. I think that there's going to be a lot of change. I think it's going to be really, really exciting time to live through for our industry. And the unfortunate part for industry and for anybody who's watching this, I think we ought to go into it with a realization that there's going to be some companies in our industry that aren't going to make it through this. And I know each of the panelists on this call and their companies are all focused on the future, but I would just highly encourage companies throughout our industry. The four of us are all involved with pretty big companies, but you don't have to be a big company to be focused on this. I would just highly encourage our industry and each company in our industry to be looking out, because the wave of change is going to be so substantial and so forceful that there's going to be companies in our industry that aren't going to make it. And so, we need to all be looking out, looking ahead, trying to identify changes on the horizon and really doing all we can to prepare today, because it's going to be too late. You're not going to be able to prepare once they hit. It's going to be too late.
You don't want to be Blockbuster or BlackBerry. There's they're on the scrap heap now for the most part, and that's they had their business models were their business models, and we talked about, Bill, you talked about that in an editorial you did a few months back about either change or die, basically.
Yeah, and there's a long list of those examples that you just give, Kodak, retailers. I mean, a long list of, in some of the cases, Blockbuster, is a great example. They had the money, the technology. They had, for them to change to more of what we now consider like a Netflix model or a digital model would have been so easy for them. They were a multi-billion-dollar company, or Kodak with a digital camera. There's lots and lots of examples of companies that could have easily changed, but they just can't see it. And so that would be my encouragement. All the companies in our industries, be looking out, because if you're not, you don't want to get swept away with the change.
Yeah.
Brenna,
and Jeff, I would just add, I think that I was going to add that the key to avoiding that is that the consumer really has to be our guide. As I think about what I am most hopeful for, it is that people fall in love with boating. We are bringing new consumers, we are bringing different consumers and younger consumers into the industry. People love the water, and as they fall in love with the boating experience, as we all have, that is going to be the clearest path to a sustained industry expansion.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges, Brenna, that we face in sort of going from this, becoming really just technology companies as opposed to, fiberglass engine out in the water?
It takes a system. It takes a network. It's not just a company, I think, that can solve this. You have to think about your channel partners, your service, education of your consumers. So it's really the whole industry that has to take a step forward, as our consumers are going to be expecting new technologies and innovation and how they recreate on the water.
Martin, are the consumers overseas looking for the same technology and innovation as we are here in the States? Did you notice that?
I would definitely say so, and I think the technology development is really becoming globalized. To Bill's pointer, it's becoming globalized. You don't see so big differences any longer, and we definitely see the same trends here as in Europe or elsewhere. But to add what you said, Brenna, I also think as an industry, competence, right? Because there's a lot of industries that do the same journey as we are on now. And to attract that competence into our industry is also going to be a very interesting, how do we attract those competences and the mindsets that's going to help us change it? That's going to be a very interesting to see how we attract it as well. Right?
Hey, Jeff, if I can just add to that, and I agree
Sure.
with everything Brenna and Martin said, but just to build on that, something that we talk about a lot at CorrectCraft is the difference between is mindset, and the difference between being a knower and a learner. And if we could, if just one more piece of, advice or counsel that I would give, to our industry would be, if we become knowers, we're in big trouble. But if we continue to be learners and continue to grow and learn and be looking out at, and not just in our industry or not just where our consumers want, but what are they doing in other industries that we can apply, what other consumers want. But really the key to that, all of that to me, is being a learner and just continuing to be open to learning.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we all have to take a step back in this situation and figure out, as leaders, like, what can we learn from not only other industries, but maybe our employees as well that are, maybe pushing some of these ideas.
Yeah.
And Martin, I've seen some really great stuff. I was in Sweden last year, and I know there's some really cool stuff coming from Volvo that's hush hush, but they told me to put my camera away and take a look, and I really thought it was impressive. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Anyone have any parting thoughts, Abbey?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for putting this together today. It's been great to be part of this panel and listen to some wonderful industry leaders. So I took away a lot of great stuff too. So thank you for that. And I would say that as an industry, let's don't forget the why. I like what Bill just said, be learners, and let's don't forget the why. Why are we doing what we do? And why do our consumers love what they get to do on the boats? Let's remember to take a step back and reset and look to the why. Why is this such a cool thing to do? And how can we get that in front of all the right people? And once you focus on that and continue to hone that skill, there's no limit to what this industry is going to do when we understand why people are loving boating and why they want to be with their family and friends on the water.
Yep.
Good point. Brenna, any parting words?
Just thank you also, Jeff, for having us. This has been a great panel discussion. I think we stand at the front of a new horizon, a great opportunity in the marine industry. And as we all lean in, we'll deliver great experiences for our consumers.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but 30 seconds, Bill, if you could just give me some parting thoughts.
Yeah, just, it's an honor to be here. I've got a tremendous amount of respect for each of my fellow panelists and their companies. And thank you for letting us do this with you, Jeff, and appreciate what you foundings are doing, and excited about the future. Let's be learners.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. Martin?
Yep, thank you again, and thanks for having us on the panel, and thank you for good discussions, guys, and really look forward to the future together. So thank you very much, Jeff.
Yeah, my pleasure having all of you, and I look forward to actually seeing you in real live flesh at some point soon. But I want to thank IBEX Online, a virtual experience, and stay tuned here for more programming. That's all for today. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you.